Hello, I'm Jordan. I'm going to do yet another tag today. I've really been making the rounds on the tags, but this is kind of what I started doing on this channel, and I'm kind of coming full circle now here at the end of the year with a lot of tags, and I love doing them. So I was kindly tagged by Kelly over at Books I'm Not Reading, and this is the sorry, we got Ernie over there tearing up. What is he tearing up? Looks like he's tearing up some Carson McCullers. I was tagged by Kelly over at Books I'm Not Reading, and this is the book Postscript Tag 2021. And it was created by Adam over at Memento Mori. And it's a very good kind of way of reflecting on the reading year. So the first prompt is the longest book you read this year and the book that took you the longest to finish. I read quite a few books this year that were like 900 pages or more. I'm not sure what exactly is the longest one, but the book that took me the longest to read was certainly The Brontes by Juliet Barker, which I loved. This took me a long time to read, partly because it's over 1,000 pages, but also partly because I was doing various read-alongs while I was reading this, which is not something I tend to do. I tend to read one book at a time, and as a result, I read this over the course of well over a month. It might have been like 2 months. But it was great. It was a wonderful book to kind of live in for that amount of time. So no complaints there. Two is a book you read this year that was outside of your comfort zone. Well, this would count because I read, this was kind of the year of nonfiction for me. I read, I think, a total of 7 nonfiction books this year, which was probably more nonfiction than I've read all the previous years combined, not counting school and things like that. And it's been a fantastic discovery. It's really one of the biggest kind of developments in my reading life since I was a kid. It's been a lot of fun, but it was out of my comfort zone. I took some risks. Not all of them paid off. A book called The Boundless Sea by David Abelavia, I think is his last name, was interesting at times. That was another book that was, I think, over 1,000 pages, but it was the payoff wasn't great. I would not necessarily recommend that book to everyone. It was a little dry, but for the most part, reading nonfiction has been immensely fun for me. So that's been an adventure outside of my comfort zone that has really paid off. 3 is how many books did you reread? I counted it up. It was only 5, and 4 of them were Shakespeare. A book that you favorite reread of this year. That would have been Richard II by Shakespeare, which I think this was my only my second time reading it, but it really solidified it as probably my favorite history play from Shakespeare. I love this play. I kind of expected to love it because I remember loving it the first time, but I didn't expect how good it is for an earlier Shakespeare play. It really feels like it stands up next to some of the later plays, at least for me. 5 is a book you read for the first time that you look forward to rereading in the future. For that, I'm going to go with the book I read very early this year, I think January or February, and that's The Fairy Queen by Edmond Spencer, which is just a beautiful, truly Elizabethan in the sense that it's just full of lush, almost decadent imagery and situations. It reminds me of Orlando Furioso a lot, without the sense of play. It's a little more self-serious than that, but it's also more vivid in its language, I think. Of course, I'm reading Orlando Furioso in a translation. But still, this has everything you want from Elizabethan language in that very kind of, decadent, jeweled way of writing, combined with a very kind of Orlando Furioso-esque surreal adventure story. It's a fantastic poem. And again, this was another one that was well over 1,000 pages. Sorry. Next prompt is a book that, favorite single short story or novella that you read this year. I'm going to go with a short story by Algernon Blackwood, which is in this collection. It's called The Wendigo, which is an extremely eerie, unsettling story that I have thought about often throughout the year. I highly recommend you check out that story if you're into horror fiction or weird fiction. It does a fantastic job of creating or conjuring up the kind of very unsettling, eerie feeling that you get sometimes in vast tracts of wilderness. I think it's just a great chilling story. 7 is Mass Appeal, a book you liked and would recommend to a wide variety of readers. For this, I'm going to go with The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters, which is a wonderful kind of gothic ghost story, but also in true Sarah Waters fashion, a very complex and nuanced psychological novel, which I absolutely loved. Sarah Waters is quite popular on BookTube, I think, so it probably doesn't need much of a sell from me. But if you haven't read The Little Stranger, it's probably my favorite Waters novel that I've read, and I definitely recommend it. 8 is Specialized Appeal, a book you liked but will be hesitant to recommend to just anyone. For this, I'm going to go with my favorite book that I read this year, and that's Diarmaid MacCulloch's massive 1,000-page History of Christianity. I think it's called Christianity, and the subtitle is The First 3,000 Years. And it's just a wealth of fascinating information combined with a very, very approachable, engaging style of writing. I absolutely loved it. It's a book I'm going to be rereading, I'm sure, and I'm also going to be exploring more of MacCulloch's work, I'm sure. But yeah, certainly the best book I've read this year, and if you're into nonfiction and if you're into that subject matter, I definitely recommend you check it out. 9 is Reflect on your year as a bookish content creator. Goals met, good, bad memories, favorite videos you made, etc. This is a pertinent question for me because this was my very first year on BookTube, on YouTube in general. I started, I think my first video was from February, and it has been interesting. It's been, my goal in starting the channel was, at least I told myself, was I essentially wanted to become more articulate about talking about books. And I think to a certain extent I achieved that. And I also achieved something which I'm sure I was kind of aware of that I was looking for, but I didn't realize I wanted it really until I got it, which was the community here. I've made friends here. And there are moments when I feel like I'm not sure I want to be doing this anymore because it feels, for me, in my case, it feels very maybe egotistical and narcissistic of me sitting here talking about expounding my kind of bullshit opinions as if anyone is really that interested. What I fail to realize sometimes, I think, is that that's not what this is about. This is about a community and an interaction and friends, and it provides that in a way that is extremely rewarding. That being said, there's been one negative experience which happened very early on. In which I'm not sure how I want to put this. I made a video in which I said that I thought a certain book, I didn't like a certain very well-liked book, and there is a booktuber, a fairly well-known and well-liked booktuber, who responded to that by leaving a very insulting and aggressive comment on the video, and then proceeding to put up a video of their own in which they insulted me and told no one to subscribe to me, and it was ugly. And I can only assume that this person was having a very bad day because they later took down that video almost immediately. But it was still keep in mind I had like 30 subscribers at this point, so it's not like I was a threat in any kind of way. But it was a very negative experience very early on in the year and in my life as a booktuber, so that was discouraging. But for the most part, this has been, Steve Donahue calls BookTube famously a pure positive. And for the most part, I totally agree with that. It's really the amount of goodwill that is in this little corner of YouTube is really astonishing and rewarding. So I've decided I'm going to keep doing this at least for a little while. And I really appreciate the friendships that I have made, including with Kelly, who tagged me in this video. So overall, it's been a very, very positive experience, and I'm going to keep going at least for a bit. And 10 is to tag some fellow bookish content creators. I'm going to tag just one person. I'm going to tag Jack over at the Rambling Raconteur, who has supported this channel essentially since my very first video. So Jack, if you're watching and you want to do this and you haven't been tagged by anyone else, please feel free. And that's it. So thank you for watching. I'm probably going to do one more video this year in which I talk about my 5 favorite books that I read this year, I think. But until then, thank you for watching. Have a good day.